We've got a good crew here today. I'm really excited to just welcome you all into the first of our Conversations and Connections series. This series exists because AI isn't a side project anymore. It's shaping our classrooms, our work lives, and the world our students are stepping into. And one of the biggest lessons from our work over the past several months here at UAGC and across online initiatives is that we can't navigate this alone. We need spaces where we can listen, where we can learn, and where we can look around to help us start making sense of the bigger picture together. In higher education right now, you're seeing every possible approach. Some institutions are sprinting toward new tools without a compass, and others are stuck in the starting gate, waiting for clarity that may never arrive. What we're doing here at UAGC and across online initiatives is to try to build a culture of steady and connected learning, a place where we can all explore what's emerging, understand how it affects our work, and stay grounded in the human side of all of this. And that's the spirit behind what we're going to be doing. Every month, we're going to bring in voices who are living the AI shift in real time, whether they're in education, industry, research, or creative fields. You're going to hear real stories and real examples from people navigating the same uncertainty that we are, but from different vantage points. So today, we're starting with the people who are feeling these shifts maybe most immediately. The folks on the panel today are in the workforce on the front lines in an array of fields where AI and emerging technologies are beginning to reshape workflows, which, by the way, is all of them, all the fields, all the disciplines, everything we do. But on top of that, our four panelists today are our alumni living this every day. They're here to share what they're encountering, what they've had to learn or unlearn, and what they think our students need now to thrive in a world where AI isn't optional. Let me just pause for a second. Alumni choosing to give back, to share what they're seeing on the front lines is an incredible gift. I couldn't be more grateful. Learning from them helps us understand the landscape that our students are stepping into, but it also helps us as professionals in higher education. We're trying to make sense of the forces shaping our own work. I mean, we are workers, we're part of the workforce, and we need every tip and bit of insight we can gather. So who better to learn from than our own graduates? People who know the world they're navigating and know the education that brought them there. So this is a flipped classroom. My hope is that you hear something today that helps you make sense of your own work, your own questions, your own next steps. And I hope you see this series as an ongoing invitation. If you're here today, you registered. If you registered, you've got access to the full roster of our next sessions, not the content per se, but you know when they're happening. Put them on your calendar and make sure that you visit with us in the future. So I want to introduce our panelists for today. First up is Samar Balouch. He has a Master of Science Technology Management, grad year of 2023, currently works at Accenture as an inside sales specialist lead. Erin Correll is here with us today. She has a BA in Applied Behavioral Science from 2017 and an MA in Psychology 2021. She is a DES Senior Policy Analyst, which puts her responsible for all kinds of administrative policy creation and revision, including relating to artificial intelligence. Chrissy Mackey is with us today. She has a doctorate of philosophy in industrial organizational psychology, organizational development, training, and e-learning. Grad year was 2022. She is the operations director and COO of the Asylum Project. And Dustin Vessel is here, MBA class of 2024. He works for NRG Energy down in Texas. He's the director of acquisition marketing campaigns. So thank you all so much for joining us, for being with us here today. We're going to run a little bit of a round robin question and answer style. I'll call out particularly the questions. I'll ask our esteemed panelists to sort of share their insight. Really excited to have you join us. People who are joining here in the audience, feel free to type into the chat where you're located, what your program is, or what you teach. Our alumni, I think, would be interested to know if their major disciplines are repping well here, or if we're not seeing enough of one area or another. And if they want to shout out some past professors, that'd be fun too. So please feel free to type that in the chat. Let us know where you're coming from and who you are. But otherwise, I think I'm going to just kick things off. Samar, I'm wondering if you could lead us off here. I wonder if you could just give us a little bit of a quick snapshot of what AI looks like in your world right now.
All right. Oh, thank you guys so much for having me here. So AI right now, the way we're looking at it in our organization, it's all based off of just tracking metrics, tracking where. So I work with a lot of customers who are buying certain products and services, tracking how they're using it, why they're using it in a specific way, gathering and or aggregating that data, and then giving it back to the system to figure out ways to help them improve their processes, their procedures, and whatever they're trying to do. So I mostly work on the sales side. So my goal is here just to make sure the customer utilizes the licenses that they have, whether those licenses are for accounting, whether it's for like a different sales department, et cetera. So we mostly just focus with those customers that are using those specific licenses and products and figure out ways to, best help support them. So we're currently using Copilot. That is the big initiative in at least in our organization. I know other companies are using, other products and services as far as AI goes, but we are sticking with Copilot. That's what we're currently using.
Excellent. Do you feel like your company is supporting your I don't know, onboarding or learning with Copilot, or were you kind of just thrown into it like, hey, figure this out?
Copilot was a test project that my I worked for a previous organization that that worked with that. So it was a product. We didn't know that's what it was going to be called, but we were just using it. We were all under NDA, a select few people, and with that, that's how we kind of started using it. So it was kind of thrown at us. We had no idea what it was. We just had to type in prompts because that's how AI started, right? With prompt based. Now it's just more machine learning training the AI, so it's a little bit more, intuitive. But it was just thrown at us, and we had no idea what it was. We were just told to use it, and now it's Copilot.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. Erin, what about for you? Just maybe a quick snapshot of the AI tools or what AI looks like in your world right now.
Yeah, sure. And thank you guys so much for having me here today. So as you mentioned, I'm the senior policy analyst for the Department of Economic Security, which is in Arizona. So I spend a lot of time deep in research, really reading and analyzing statutes, rules, bills, and then ultimately summarizing my findings and making recommendations to leadership on impacts and next steps. So, just this step of collecting and analyzing the right information, as I'm sure everyone on this phone is familiar with, can be very manual and it can be a very tedious process. So AI is definitely a hot topic in my world, particularly in the context of administrative efficiency. So we are constantly considering how we might be able to leverage AI to improve efficiency for our clients, the communities that we serve, and then also reduce the administrative burden for our staff. We are also in the process of testing AI right now. So, just a couple of months ago, we got access to Google Gemini as a state level tool, and we are already seeing impacts in the speed in which we're able to find and summarize that high level information. So, we're really excited to see where AI takes us next.
That's awesome, Erin. I wonder, just real quick, like you're dealing with sensitive policy, administrative type documents. Any worries or concerns that you're hearing from your leadership or from you about what you can and can't crunch with AI? Can you drop all this stuff in there? Do you have a protected instance?
Absolutely. That is something that we are considering because one of the important things to know about AI is that there's often a human on the back end that is looking at your inputs and measuring those outputs. So we're being very careful about confidential information, protected health information, really, really making privacy and security at the forefront of implementation.
That's great. Cool. Thank you. Chrissy, over to you. Can you give us just a quick snapshot? AI in your world right now.
Sure. So I work for a nonprofit, and we are a startup nonprofit, brand new as of 2025. So it is my job to bring us all into compliance. So I actually use, at this point, 4 different AI tools to, do policy research and writing, programming things that we're doing, as well as there's a couple different AIs that I've been testing out for developing the training that we need to have in place for compliance with state and federal government. So my life is AI at the moment. So we use ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and then I'm looking into I think one is called, I can't remember the name of the one for the training, but I want to say it's Gamma, I think is what it is, Gamma AI. So I have become very immersed in AI just to get the things done that we need to get done, since there's only like 5 of us.
That's amazing. So, I mean, scrappy bootstrapping moment where you're trying to pull yourselves up and AI is supporting that. And it sounds like beyond just writing. I mean, I shared before, I'm the first year writing guy. That's where we see it show up a lot on the higher ed side for students. But you're all talking about, and Chrissy, you're mentioning just this idea that it's providing something more for you than just an email or a document.
Correct.
That's great. Dustin, let me tag you in here. Again, just maybe a quick snapshot of what AI is looking like for you right now.
Yeah, very similar to what Chrissy just mentioned. I am all things AI. It's really my favorite subject these days. I call myself obsessed with it. In marketing, which many experts say is one of those fields where it's kind of really ready to dive right in. It can really take over so many processes. Well, right now we're using it to plan campaigns and personalize experiences for customers. At NRG, AI is influencing workflows and creative development, targeting, internal collaboration, and it's just how we make decisions. I've been able to sponsor the creation of several internal chatbots with our data and AI team to really democratize data for us internally. We use many different tools, several of which have been mentioned today, including Microsoft Copilot. That's becoming my favorite. It wasn't a few months ago, but it is now because we have the M365 license, which gives us access to every email, Word file, PowerPoint, Excel, etc. So no longer is there a need to, try to put in a formula in Excel. I can just say, what is the key takeaway from this Excel document? And it happens in just seconds. And we're also leveraging Gemini Enterprise. I think Erin mentioned that one. We're also leveraging that tool. Several different Adobe tools, which now all have AI features embedded into them, as well as Salesforce. And we're really looking at any new software we purchase. Is there an AI component involved in it? And if not, it's probably not that tool for us, because we're really investing in those platforms that have prioritized AI. And even internally, we are what we're calling it an AI first culture, really trying to embed that into every one of our team members, because we want them to access or think about AI first versus the old way of starting from scratch, because in this world there's no reason to start from scratch anymore.
That's amazing. And I love hearing you talk about tool investment, but then also people investment, because I mean, as I think one of the things that research points out to us is that it's a people issue. I mean, the tools are what's going to help us get where we're going, but it's the training and the mindset behind that that's really driving this change. You're making us jealous though with the 365 full license. I think a lot of us here, we're a Microsoft sort of climate. We've got access to Copilot, but it's that limited bandwidth version. And just to hear you talk about the way that you're able to create these bots, these different ways to access data and really democratize the availability of it, that seems crucial to making sure everyone's got what they need to really make things work out in the field. That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, Samar, let me swing back over to you. We talked about this a little bit because I kind of put you on the spot about your Copilot rollout. I'm asking maybe just think back to when you first started encountering these tools, maybe even before what we're talking about today, your current roles, but just your first exposure to some of this stuff. What did you have to learn to feel confident in navigating AI in your role?
Thank you for the question. So I had to essentially figure out how to how to ask what I wanted to ask. So let me explain. When we were thrown Copilot, there was a select group of people to test it, right? It was across other organizations as well, but the one that I worked at was specifically chosen, like and I had to figure out how to train it, how to use it, because I realized, okay, I can talk to it. It's just like the Steven Spielberg movie, right? Artificial intelligence. I can talk to it, it responds back, but what can I do to use it? So the way I learned was, so in my as a hobby, I do photos and videos, right? I do a lot of photography, a lot of filmmaking, indie filmmaking, just as a hobby, right? And I use AI to that advantage. So I'm like, okay, so if I need to frame this shot with this lighting setup, how would I achieve this shot? How would I achieve what, this director did, or, XYZ? And or how would I take a photograph like this to make it look like this? So then I started to learn from it and I started to train it, meaning that I kept asking it questions, kept bringing it research articles, and then it just, and again, this is very grassroots. This is just like when ChatGPT was a thing, this when Copilot was already a thing, but ChatGPT was everyone was using it. So they were just asking it questions, it was giving them answers, but this was a different way of kind of utilizing it. So that's how I honestly kind of learned how to utilize it, how to, enforce it. And then as I got comfortable over the years, and this was like 5 years ago, when we began testing it, and it just kind of just took over. So that's all I use Copilot. I have other options. There's Gemini, there's Nano Banana, there's all these other, now people are making videos, they're making, taking pictures and turning it to a video. So that's a whole other subject, but that's how I specifically use it. I'm like, well, there's something I love to do. Let me figure out how to use it and then incorporate that in my professional life, and that's been working out just fine.
Oh, that's fantastic. I think that's a really great theme and a good lesson to keep in mind is that, and that's sort of how I learned as well. I I didn't continually try to apply it to work tasks. I tried to sort of crack the code, doing things I love, things I was already doing, and hearing your journey about the photography and how that sort of, I also teach the film class. So I'm inspired by that myself. But realizing that that pathway you were treading in an area that you were already comfortable with and that you already loved helped give you that crack the code moment where you could then bring it to the workforce and different applications there. Kind of banging our head against it, not as a tool for work at first, but just sort of through love and channeling our passions. What about you, Erin? When you first started encountering these tools, how'd you build your confidence?
Yeah, that's a great question. And similar to what Samar was just talking about, I think one of the most important things that I had to learn when I first started using AI is really the importance of entering the right prompt. Just like I said previously, inputs will affect your outputs. And AI is not always accurate. And so generally, it's going to take your prompt at face value and it doesn't necessarily interpret your meaning and it can't always hear your tone. So it's really important that the prompt that you enter is clear and concise. I think the one other thing I would say is that I also had to learn about limitations of AI and just really overall how best to use the tool. So, for example, when I first started using Google Gemini, I asked the AI tool to compare two documents and detail the differences for me. Now, I had already done this work manually, but I wanted to see if AI could do it better, if AI could do it faster. And it turned out that it really couldn't. It produced a wildly inaccurate analysis. And even when I told it that it had missed several key differences, it still just wasn't quite right. So really understanding the strengths and weaknesses that come with using these tools, I think will help. It has definitely helped me feel more confident navigating AI.
That benchmarking process is so important. I mean, I feel like one of the things you hear a lot with AI is that it's going to save you time, it's efficiency. But at this stage, I feel like for all of us, it's not saving us time. We have to learn something new and we have to benchmark it. We have to double check. We have to figure it out. And so we're sinking some time now that, yeah, maybe potentially could save us a little bit of time in the future. But that human gut check, that benchmarking, I think is part of the process. And it kind of reminds us, why we matter, why we're important. And I think it also, again, it provides that check that we just don't like cut and paste something AI tells us and think, well, this is going to be the answer to all the questions. We need to kind of stay there, stay present, stay focused.
Yeah, and to Samar's point, there is this teaching element with AI where your AI starts to get to know you a little bit and get to know what you're looking for. And that I think is critical. Using the tool is gonna ultimately get you better results.
Yeah, definitely. Chrissy, what about you? Jump in here and just maybe when you first started using these tools, how did you learn them? How did you start to feel confident with them?
Well, ironically, I didn't start using them until this year. And it was because I had gone to a training for small businesses here in the Coos Bay area where I live. So one of the things that the person who was teaching the boot camp there was talking about was everybody's using AI, get over yourself, use it. So they actually had us download ChatGPT and start asking it questions that had to do with what we were trying to do. So with a nonprofit, you're not looking to make money, but you are looking for donors. So I had to describe what I was looking for as far as like an ideal donor. And so it was giving me a lot of really helpful suggestions on how to market our nonprofit. And so from there, I was like, well, okay, maybe I should start using this a little bit. So I was using it for my own brand of stuff that I do. And that was helping me to learn how to use it and how to really drill in for what I wanted so that when it came time for me to sit down and start working on policies, I was able to say things like, hey, I want this to be person-centered, trauma-informed, warm tone, inclusive. Let's write this policy, and then have it kick out something that was exactly the way that I was hoping it would be. So like, for example, our wage policy, we have a 3-to-1 wage gap policy put in place. And the way it's written is so just human centered that it's one of our favorite policies.
You have a favorite policy.
We do. We have a
I
lot
love
of
it.
policies.
I have colleagues who probably love policy as much as you do. I mean, I feel like, and Erin, you're mentioning this too. Chrissy, you're talking about this idea that you have to sort of be explicit in what you're asking, but be willing to redirect too. I mean, Chrissy, you're name checking warm tone, inclusivity. I would suspect you realized those things were missing and then added them in or asked them to be added in. So it's that, again, staying human and present, looking at the output and saying, hey, how can we make this better? What's missing? And then kind of directing toward that. I mean, it's just all part of the process. I mean, I really love just hearing you kind of talk through that and realizing that even something as important, but somewhat cold or rigorous as policy is something we can really have, we can bring a lot of influence and warmth to. Dustin, let me kick this over to you again. How'd you get yourself confident and upskilled with these tools?
Yeah, I think the theme of all of the answers is just using the tool, right? And so, the first time, and I consider myself a really early adopter to the Chat GPT was obviously the first tool out there. But the first time I leveraged the tool to create, let's say, a creative brief, the creative brief was terrible. I think Erin mentioned it just kind of makes things up or just it's wrong sometimes. But at some point, after iterating on those prompts, I got the best brief I've ever seen in my life that I couldn't have done by myself. But just being able to constantly ask the tool. I do want to share a framework for what Microsoft says is kind of a best way to prompt, because that's what we're talking about. And it's giraffes can see everything. Giraffes can see everything. G is for goal, C is for context, uh, E is or S is for source, and then E is for expectation. So when you're developing that prompt, give it the goal that you want, and then give it the context. Then give it the source, whether that's a PowerPoint, an image, a PDF, a text message, whatever that is, and then give it the expectations. How do you want this the output to come out? And that has really worked well for my team and I. I'll just lastly say, when we talk about competence, I was able to facilitate an AI agent competition just last week with our team, and there were people who had never used a Copilot in their lives, but many of them walked out being able to develop and actually use an AI agent. And that just goes back to that theme of using the tool. Once you kind of put your hands on it and understand that it's just, talking to a computer and just giving it, your instructions, it's going to respond. And so just using the tool, especially in this age of AI, you'll be surprised how quickly you can have really tangible outputs.
Yeah, so hands-on keyboards, making it work, playing around. I mean, again, as the program chair for first year writing, I'm compelled to say that some of what we're talking about and how we compose a prompt and how we interact with AI, it's really similar to how you construct an essay or a solid paragraph or a thesis statement. So these are skills that are, we're not calling that in our English 121 class. We're not calling it prompting 101. We're talking about writing essays, but so much of that skill set is what really gets folded into how we are interacting and learning in this new age, this age of AI. So I guess what I want to ask next is, Samar, I want to ask you first, what do you think our current students need to know or practice to be workforce ready in this AI shaped environment?
Great question. So I think the first thing that all students should do is figure out, okay, what kind of what they really want to do with AI. Because when we're talking about AI, like for example, in my organizations, right, I've worked in tech for almost 20 years. Okay, that's all I know is tech and business. Like my family had a family business. I used to work there when I was a kid, left, kind of did my own thing, found my way to UAGC. I'm a double alumni. Now I'm like, okay, I want to start a PhD program. So that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been researching. I stuck with Copilot because that's what was thrown at me. I use ChatGPT, but it didn't really give me the answers that I wanted, right? I guess in terms of the research that it provided to me. Copilot was more thorough. So I stuck with Copilot. And I think what students should start doing is really looking at some of these certifications, some of these programs, even if it's from, UAGC or like a local community college or a local, university, right? Uh, so even my university locally offers a lot of programs on AI prompting and AI automation, all of this, and figure out essentially what sub job quote in AI you want to do. Because I don't know if my job is going to be replaced in the next 5 years. If it does, oh well, I'll figure something out. But or maybe in the creative side, right? With the photography I do and like the cinematic, all these movies I make and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's going to be replaced. So the way they can approach it is just figuring out, okay, this is what I want to do, or having a pathway of other projects or ideas or jobs they want to do, and then really, as Dustin put, democratizing that and just kind of getting ahead of that and then looking at some certifications. I think that'll really help. Alongside, it's great to go to school, great to do all that, but this is an environment like this helps when they learn from others, but also, just going on YouTube and just asking the AI itself, where can I benefit from? Because that's actually how I become better filmmaker. I actually use Copilot, believe it or not, to help me with scripting, writing, starting over, scrubbing, and all this stuff that I do, as a hobbyist. So that's what it helps me, professionally as well. So I think the certifications, sticking to one AI, really using it, comparing it, contrasting with other AI services, and kind of going from there.
Yeah, I mean, students students come to UAGC, students come to any university, and they're hungry. They're looking for something new in their lives. They're looking for new knowledge. And it sounds to me, Samar, one of the things you're kind of talking about is just to channel that hunger in a lot of different ways. Yeah, you're sitting in a classroom and you're learning some discipline specific stuff, and maybe we're able to present that, or alongside some AI training, maybe we're able to infuse that into the classroom, but also to channel that hunger. Don't think that the class you're taking is going to be enough to distinguish you in your field. There's going to be more. You're going to push yourself more. It's not what people want to hear, but I think it resonates coming from you that that's one of the steps that we need to make sure that we're all taking, is stepping out of the comfort zone, putting in a little bit more sweat equity, and learning from a variety of sources, and then sort of filtering it and thinking like, all right, what's powerful? What's going to stick with me? That's great. Erin, what do you think? I'm going to put you on the stage. You're going to tell our students something. What do you have to say?
Well, I really think a best practice for all current students in order to be workforce ready is to be ready and willing to do the work themselves. In my world, AI is an assistant, it's not a solution. And so for us, it shouldn't be a replacement for doing the actual work. So, one of the things I always recommend to my staff, my interns, and even when I'm training on this topic, is to do the work and then ask AI to fact check you and fact check your AI. Ask AI what you missed, proofread your documents using AI. Really consider, what can AI add to the work that I have already completed? How can AI make it better? So I think that is probably the best practice that that's my advice for current students. Don't substitute AI for the actual work that needs to be completed.
Nice. I'm going to turn this section of this video into a GIF, and I'm going to send it to all my students every day and just try to drill into them. Do not replace your work with AI. Work with AI to do something different or better, or to, I just think that's such an important lesson. And it's easy to lose sight of that in the midst of deadlines, in the midst of being at sea, right? I mean, think about you all when you first started going back to school and you're sitting there in your first or your second or your third class. It's overwhelming, and it's really easy to think that the AI is smarter than you, better than you, faster than you. It might be some of those things, right? In that moment, it's a really uh, tough environment for students to be thrown into, and to realize like, hey, I've got this thing I could just tap, and it's going to do it for me. It's going to do it better than me. It's going to get done. Then I can still hang out with my family, or I can still pull that extra shift, or whatever the case might be. And that's, in that moment, I can see the reasoning. I can see why a student might do that, or a worker might do something like that. But what you're doing is cheating yourself of that learning and that contribution. You're silencing your own voice. And Erin, your words really make it clear that that's not, you don't want to replace skill. You want to supercharge it. And that's it's a really important lesson to think about, for sure. Chrissy, what do you think? I'm going to give you the mic. Tell our students what they need to know. Tell our students, but then you're really telling us, and we're going to go and we're going to make them do it. So what do the students need to know?
I think you'll probably like this answer. You need to know how to write. You need to be
I
able
do
to
like that answer. I'm with you.
you need to be able to use exact and vivid words to get the outputs that you want. If you just say, hey, I want a blog post on this topic, do it. And it'll kick you a blog post. Is it going to be good? Probably not, and you'll just end up spending more time trying to fine tune it and get it to where you want, where you could have just saved yourself that much of a headache by being exact and precise in what you're trying to do. So knowing how to write.
That's another GIF. That's another GIFable moment for me and my writing students. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, though, I think I can see the mindset or understand the mindset of people, not just students, people who might feel like in that moment getting it done matters more than it being done well. I mean, that's a bad thing, you know, and I think all of us in the room can probably agree that that's not necessarily why we go through life. We're not just trying to get things done. We're not trying to reach the end. We're trying to have experiences and share our experiences and learn and grow along the way. And we're cheating ourselves when we just outsource things like that. But that's a really powerful reminder. And I did not set that up. Chrissy and I did not speak about this ahead of time, but I'm glad to hear that. Dustin, what do you think? What do our students need to know or practice to be ready for this?
Yeah, I have many thoughts. I'll try not to be controversial here. I mentioned earlier that AI first culture and mindset. And so I think adopting that is key, and it has been key for me. I also mentioned earlier not starting from scratch. So I absolutely I absolutely agree that we should author our own work and it should be our own voice. But there's just an opportunity not to start from scratch anymore. And so I think that translates into being a really great critical thinker. AI is not going to replace us, but it should, I believe, absolutely augment our behavior. And so, as a critical thinker, what is that prompt that allows me to leverage the research and make sure that my first draft, for instance, again, isn't me starting from scratch, but it's my input. I'm authoring the prompt. I've done some research and I'm leveraging that research in my prompt to make sure that I'm saving myself some time, but also it's my voice. I love to say you should never, submit something that you can't pronounce or you don't know the definition of. And so I think, really having that critical thinking and that mind of a strategist is going to be really important. There are the Sam Altmans of the world who talk about getting into the super intelligence in 3 to 5 years. And I think there will, especially for marketing, there will be some skills that AI just will be able to do. And so, how do we become strategists and critical thinkers to guide and manage the AI agents is another approach that we've read about in marketing. And so, I absolutely agree that being a great writer and authoring your own content is going to be really important. But there will be many others who have that upper hand, that advantage, if that who are leveraging AI in a different way. And so, making sure that you are leveraging AI as a critical thinker and as a strategist to make sure that you're not being left behind.
Yeah, the mind of a strategist is key, right? And I think, I asked the question about current students, and obviously the academic environment where students are learning skills, maybe for the first time, is a very different one than being out in the workforce. That idea of never having to have a crappy first draft. You've always got something on the page. That's really crucial as you're trying to churn through things. And speaking as somebody who was a copywriter for a few years of his career, I wish that we had a tool like this back then. So when a client would say, "Hey, I need 50 taglines by 3 o'clock, give me some options," I'd be able to generate 1,000 and then cross off the 950 that were no good and be able to present them with options. So I think that's really, and I think that's really crucial for us to realize too. Again, teachers in the classroom, we're thinking about our discipline, we're thinking about our outcomes, we're thinking about our competencies. And those things are, they're sacred to us. That's what we're instilling to our students. But are we doing that through an AI first culture or with an AI first mindset? Are we clinging too much to the structures that we were trained in, the schooling that we had as professors, as teachers over the years? Are we not embracing enough the fact that some of the ways we have done things or learned things or transmitted things just aren't as relevant anymore for all disciplines? It's a good wake up call. This moment and your words, all of you together, sharing these ideas with us. It's a good wake up call for us to make sure that we're still being really relevant in how we communicate with our students. So we're kind of wrapping up. I've got one last question to throw to you all today. Just looking ahead, just asking you to forecast a little bit. What are the human skills, habits, mindsets that you believe will matter most as AI matures, maybe particularly in your field? So, Samar, I'll ask you.
Thank you for the question. So I think the way it's going to at least work in my field is I work in sales, right? So we do a lot of tech sales. I also do a lot of technical things for clients, right? So looking at their IT infrastructure, looking at, their licenses, looking XYZ. So I think the way it's going to help me is the more information I give to, for example, Copilot or ChatGPT, whatever, it's going to get to learn me as a person. So it's going to have all that information available for me. And it's starting to get better and better as well, because there's a lot of, ways that humans can, as you mentioned, we can improve upon, but it comes down to the writing. It comes down to your habits and how you are, and it tracks. AI is going to be tracking everything. It's just going to help assist you. It's going to just make things a little bit better. At least for me, it's helping quite a bit. In the last couple of weeks, there have been significant updates. For example, I use Microsoft Teams, so there's a lot of updates there where I don't have to go and figure out, okay, what did we talk about with this client last time? It already has that information. And it also has that, how I respond to the client or like what the client looks for. So it picks up those habits and things like that. And I think that's great. And, I think the future is bright for AI, but, as all the other panelists have mentioned, it's not a know-it-all culture, it's a learn-all. So I think that we can learn from each other and then learn from these different tools. And as I mentioned, just be curious and ask the AI what they're capable of doing. Like that's what I ask. Literally, I'm like, what are your capabilities? What are you good at? What are you not good at? And and just try to get the AI to become more human, as I say. So it works for me. I use it in different aspects of my life, but I think the best we can do is just like, I treat it as if it's a human. I don't treat it like a computer. So I'll say please and thank you because you never know if they're going to take over the world. So yeah, so I'm just, I just use it like as, as a person I can rely on, and yeah, it's been working. So I think the future is bright. It's just we just have to continue learning it, continue experimenting. That's the best you can do, as a creative person, myself. So I experiment quite a bit, and that's how you can get it to give you the results you want.
That's great. I mean, thinking of it as a coworker kind of changes your mindset. It's not Google where you just type in to get answers. If you think about it as something you can partner with, something you can learn from and you can learn about, I think that really unlocks a lot of doors for people. And Samar, what you're saying, I think so many people think about the idea of AI integration or AI readiness as a place that you're going to reach, but it's ongoing. It's never going to stop. We're going to continually have to be morphing and changing our workflows, our ideas, our mindsets, our work itself. So that's a really good a good way to think about it. That we have just keep playing around, keep learning. Erin, what about you? Human skills, habits, mindsets that you think are going to matter most in your field as AI keeps taking over?
Yeah, sure. So, for us at DES, we are a human services agency. So, I think one of the most important things for us looking ahead is going to be collaboration. Can we work together with AI and leverage AI to achieve better outcomes for our communities and support increased efficiency in our administrative operations? And similar to what you guys were just talking about, AI really isn't going anywhere. So I also try to think of AI as one of the team. And part of being a good leader is making sure that you have the right team members in the right places to be successful. And I think that is going to be key for us at DES going forward. Really analyzing how we are using this tool and what we might be able to use it for in the future.
That kind of mindful adoption, I think, is key. And we talk about saving time, but then what do we do with that time that we've saved, and how do we continue to dedicate that time to the mission of the organization? I mean, I think that's a really crucial question to ask as well. And it sounds like you've got a good sense of that in the work you all are doing. Thank you for sharing that, Erin. Chrissy, what do you think? I mean, and this is I think we have such an interesting mix here today too. I mean, Chrissy, you're working in the nonprofit sector, and there's a real human mission at the core of what you do. But here we are talking about AI and machine learning. So I guess I'm just wondering about, from your perspective, again, those human skills and mindsets that are going to influence your work.
Yeah. So I know that as soon as I listed that I was the operations director for this nonprofit, my LinkedIn just went crazy with here's all this nonprofit stuff. And sorry, my internet is unstable, just like me. So anyway, apparently, from what I've been seeing, at least in like ads and such like that on LinkedIn, AI is a huge part of what helps nonprofits to manage with the small staff that tends to plague nonprofits. You know, they don't have the full staffing of a regular business. And, you know, they're most of them are not in it to make a lot of money. They're in it for the cause that they're doing. So it's difficult to hire people to do a lot of the things. So AI has kind of stepped up to be those virtual assistants and things. So everything from managing programs, writing research and writing grants, or grant proposals, I should say, donor management, all of that is stuff that AI is actively doing right now and will continue to do in the future for nonprofits.
That's amazing. So I mean, a team member like Erin was talking about, but literally a multiplier for the work that these small, crucial nonprofits are able to get done. I just think that's a really interesting window into how some of this might work. You know, there's so many different use cases and applications for AI, but that the potential for real human benefit along the lines of what nonprofits are doing is something I don't really think much about, and I think that's it's really good to remember that there's for a lot of negatives, there's positives along the way as well. Dustin, what do you think? Human skills, habits, just mindsets that you think are going to matter most?
Yeah, and the AI first is going to come up again, but the vision I think for most corporations, including mine, is to have a really AI autonomous uh, ecosystem with human oversight, and that's just the truth for marketers in particular. I won't speak for everyone, and so in a world in which, and I know many people think of marketing as kind of arts and crafts. I know this group knows better. It's a lot of math and science as well, and so that means there's a lot of opportunities for us just to put in the formulas into the AI assistants. 1 + 1 = 2. We want the customers, and we want to find them where they are. And so what that looks like then is the human skills really being the strategy. If we have an autonomous system that is learning, which customers are responding to what ad, and we're able to automatically change and optimize our campaigns to continue to be performing at their most optimal performance. And so again, the human skill is being able to be the strategist that informs that AI agent, the critical thinker that informs what's being generated. We want to get to a world, and we're on that path of being able to generate images and ads and videos at scale, personalized for 20 different persona types. And that's what AI is doing for us. And if AI is doing that, and we are doing less and less of traditional graphic design, then we need our designers. They're still employed, but they're thinking differently. They're informing what is the output. They're not necessarily creating the design themselves. So whether it's a designer, a copywriter, analyst, a project manager, they're still around, but their role looks a lot different. And that difference is all about the strategy and how they are informing. So we're making a full circle all the way back to prompting, but it really is kind of reshaping how we've always done work. And now we're critical thinkers and we're strategists that's informing the output.
I mean, back to that idea of the mind of a strategist, right? I can't thank you all enough. I mean, if I was a better host, I would be able to distill what we were saying, and I'd be like, hey, and this is the one lesson today. But instead, we have, 10,000 lessons from the four of you, and it's up to us here at UAGC and us everywhere to figure this out, to help our students, to change our work, to learn the lessons that you guys are sharing here today, and really re-energize the work that we do, lean into that mind of a strategist. I can't thank you enough for giving of your time. I mean, I said it before, but I don't know if I would have said yes. Some crazy dude emailed me a week ago and was like, "Hey, can you do this thing?" So I really appreciate you giving your time, giving your skills, your insights to share with us today, so we can learn from you. There's not a ton of time left for questions. If anybody's got something they want urgently they need to ask, please go ahead and type it in the chat. Also, I'm not going to necessarily speak for the four of you, but we're all a family. We're alumni, we're employees. We all are working here together. So we should tap into these resources. We should reach out. We should connect with each other, learn what we can from what people are doing, what they're learning, what mistakes they're making, and where we can go from there. I want to just share really briefly next month. Our next section is going to be Tuesday, January 13th. We're going to be visited by Rebecca Hines. She's a leading expert on work transformation and the future of work. In 2022, she founded the Work Innovation Lab at Asana, first of its kind think tank that conducts actionable research to help leaders and organizations navigate the growing challenges and changes of work. You might have read her at the Harvard Business Review, the New York Times, Wall Street Journal. You might have seen her on CNBC, where she's a regular research expert. You might have even seen her at our Teaching and Learning Conference a couple of years back, where she was a keynote along with myself and a couple of other researchers. She's got a new book coming out called Your Best Meeting Ever, which is part of the Next Big Idea book club. It's a must read. I'm going to include a little bit of information here. Rebecca has promised to bring some free chapters to share with us next month when we come to our session. I'm going to grill her and find out how we can make our meetings better, but also how AI can really change and influence our work going forward. So again, if you've registered for this, you've got that on your calendar, you can come. Samar, Erin, Dustin, Chrissy, you guys can come too. Come on back and visit the session. We're always happy to have everybody pop in and again, just kind of learn from each other, share ideas. I can't thank you enough. Seeing our alumni come back and give back is just, it's really meaningful to all of us, I think, to see the amazing change that's happening out in the world, not necessarily as a result of us, but something we were able to foster in you all and the drive and passion that you bring to it. So again, just really appreciative of you coming on in here today. We got like 7 minutes left. I'm going to do a quick poll. Samar, I think I know your answer to this. Your favorite AI tool? Sounds like you love Copilot a lot, right?
Yes.
So to vote for Copilot, Erin, what do you got?
Well, right now we only have Google Gemini, and that comes to us at a state level. So we have a couple of other tools that we use inside DES that are really more automation and less AI. So I have to say Google Gemini because that's what I've got right now.
What are you using sneaky on the side when you're sitting at home? Still Gemini?
Chat GPT
Okay.
usually is my go-to, and I probably use that one enough that it knows me fairly well at this point.
Gotcha. Chrissy, what do you think? What's your favorite?
For me, it depends on what I'm doing. I mean, if I'm doing handbooks and policies and such like that, it's Claude all the way because that's what it was designed to do. It was designed to work on policies and legal things and everything like that. If I'm trying to do like the blog posts and such like that for our organization, I use Gemini because you can set up gems and the gems talk to each other. So I can just put a prompt into each of the gems that I have and then go back through and have a different gem analyze what they've done, like pull the information from them, and then I can go through and do my output that I want with a different gem. And then if it's my own stuff, like, meal planning or whatever, I use Chat GPT.
Gotcha. So somewhat task specific.
Mm-hmm.
Dustin, favorite? Don't think, just say it.
Yeah, well, it's Copilot for work. But for at home and when I'm not doing work, ChatGPT, Claude, Lovable is a great one to create websites and apps from scratch. But there's so many choices out there.
I figure in your role, you're probably using a lot of, like you were talking about, visual stuff. I mean, Samar mentioned this too. I think a lot of people, they think of ChatGPT, they think of Claude, they sort of tap out. Gemini's there, Copilot is, like I said, integrated into our systems, but there's just so many out there. And I feel like, Chrissy, you mentioned this, and I think this was kind of coming up today too, is maybe committing to one helps that one to develop in a way that might work best for you and your work. It helps you learn it better too. But then being out there in the field, trying different ones, I think is important too. What was it? Was it like a month ago? We all woke up and Amazon Web Services was down, and all across the world, people couldn't access things that run on Cloudflare. So if you're like me, you tried to get into ChatGPT and you just couldn't get past those Cloudflare checks. Copilot was the same way. So it was just that moment where it was like, oh, wait a second, what if this goes away? What if I suddenly have to do all this myself again? It's just, again, it's a good lesson from what y'all were saying today, to stay up with our skills, to stay ready. Just again, really fantastic today. I appreciate all of you coming here, joining us in the audience today. Appreciate you all giving your time, panelists, and yeah, just wanted to say thanks again, and we will see you in a month. Have a good end of the year, peaceful solstice. Enjoy some time away.